Hi, welcome to another Auxin Dev Update. I'm your host again this week, Jason. I'm stepping in for Key, who will be back next week. On the dev side of things this week, we saw a number of PRs aimed at addressing various issues, fixing bugs, making small improvements across various parts of the project. We also saw some major technical and interface design work happening within the session dev team, concentrated on features and capabilities that we're adding to mitigate spam. But first, to talk about the PRs that went through just quickly. On the core side of things, we saw ongoing work in the Wallet 3 RPC work, and we also saw some new work in batch rewards. We have that mainly done now, and we're focused on updating tests to make it work. On the LokiNet side, there were a couple small PRs. One of them for adding a new setting to allow you to turn off route blocking when you use exit mode, which is useful in some more advanced network configurations, particularly if you have multiple VPNs running at the same time and you want to configure all your networking yourself. On the session side, there were various PRs, such as on Android, there was a fix to replies containing images. There was a PR from the community to show a higher unread count on Android. Desktop saw some PRs related to global search, as well as a PR to implement better positioning of the conversation window when opening a conversation with unread messages. On iOS, there was a fix to sharing content into session from other apps, as well as a preference for using HTTPS rather than HTTP when previewing URLs. One of the more interesting bits of dev work this week was some major technical and interface design work that happened among the session and open group teams, focused on how to mitigate spam in session. So to give you a little bit of background, before Christmas we put out session releases that effectively block the ability to see somebody's session ID from open group messages. And the reason we did that was as a stopgap measure. We know it's not ideal. A lot of people have complained about it, and they're quite right. And we knew the issues going into it, but we wanted a temporary stopgap measure to at least make it a little bit harder for people to spam while we developed a better approach. And so a lot of the discussion this week was on what exactly are going to be the implementation details of that better approach. Effectively, what we arrived on is this three-pronged approach. So the first component of it is something we're calling message requests. And that will be that when someone messages you in session who you don't have prior contact with, rather than immediately popping up a whole new conversation in your conversation list, what you're going to see instead is just a notification that someone is trying to initiate a conversation with you. And you'll be able to open that up and choose whether you want to turn that into a full conversation or whether you just want to block the user and not receive their messages. So this allows you better control over who messages you and which conversations you're involved in. The second prong here to spam mitigation is that we're going to introduce a concept of ID blinding on the open groups. So what this means is that when you post to an open group, you'll no longer be posting with your true session ID. Instead, you're going to be posting with a derived key that looks kind of like a session ID. It'll probably start with something other than 05, like 15, but effectively works the same way. It's just a temporary ID that's unique to one particular open group server. This means that you no longer have to reveal your session ID when you join an open group, and so it's better for privacy. But of course, one of the criticisms of hiding session IDs is that it cuts off one of the ways that people want to discover each other, which is through open groups. And so the third prong here is to add an ability to send direct messages to a user through the open group through this blinded ID. So since I don't have their actual session ID, I can't send a message there, but I will have the ability to right click on their message and hit send a direct message. That message will get relayed through the open group server. The user will get it the next time they check the open group. And then again, this will go into this message request inbox saying, oh, you have someone trying to contact you through the official open groups, for example. And it may show the first couple of messages from them. And you can choose, do I want to reveal my session ID to this person and initiate a full conversation? Or do I want to just block them and ignore them? And if you choose to reveal it, again, you'll open up a full conversation and you will reveal your session ID to them. And now you initiate a full, regular, fully secure, private communication with that other user. So those are that's the way that our implementation is going to look. And a big focus this week of the dev team was on fleshing out exactly how these pieces fit together and planning how we're going to put together the implementation. So I think you can expect to see some PRs around the various parts, session-related parts of the project, with this focus, because spam has been a major concern of ours for a while, and we think we've got something that will do some significant good at mitigating the spam that you see on the network. That's it for this week's Dev Update. Thanks for listening. Key will be back next week, so thank you for listening to me for these last couple of Dev Updates. It's been fun, and I hope to see you around the community. Take care.